In the meantime, let's stay in New York.
Back to business.
Back to business. The Jets also hit a home run this week by trading for Aaron Rodgers' former teammate Davante Adams, three-time first-team All-Pro wide receiver. Turns 32 in a month. But Aaron Rodgers says he hasn't lost a step.
I never thought this was possible, so having him here and then the ability to pair him with a budding superstar in Garrett Wilson, like, it's a pretty special combination. Looks like he's drinking the elixir from the fountain of youth.
Okay, so here's my question, and I ask this almost jokingly because I think I know the answer. Dan, were you good at math?
Great.
Good, because I have a mathematical equation I would like you to help us solve, okay? We got a math equation. Thank you, Pineapple Jack has put it together. Here's our equation for today. You ready, Dan?
I'm ready, sir.
Davante Adams plus New York Jets equals what?
Playoff team. The Jets are a playoff team with Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams plus Aaron Rodgers plus the Jets equals the most pressure both of them have ever been under.
Explain that.
Well, one, everybody's job in that organization is in their hands. And we know that what this roster is, what the expectations are. Two, this is, guys, come save our season.
Yeah.
That's quite literally what has happened. Please come save, because we've got a really good roster. We've got these draft picks that were the offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. We've got offensive line. You guys are both Hall of Famers. Come save us. And that's pressure, but pressure that neither of these guys together have been under. There's been expectations in Green Bay, no doubt, but there was a long runway when they were in Green Bay. Right now, this is the most pressure both these guys have ever been under, and it's please come save the season and make us a playoff football team.
Starting Sunday night against Pittsburgh, they said yesterday that he will play. Schefter, what do we need to know about this deal, how it got done, what the situation, what news and information do we need here?
Well, the Jets are paying the full contract, and when Davante Adams got to New York, he restructured his contract immediately to lower his cap number this year at $3.21 million. So he's saving the Jets some cap space this year. And when he suffered that hamstring injury in Las Vegas, it was considered at that time a 2 to 3 week injury. He missed 3 games. He came to New York, and now he feels ready to go. Full participant in practice yesterday, in the playbook all day, ready to go on Sunday night at Pittsburgh. He and Aaron Rodgers have an unspoken chemistry that all they need to do is be on the same field together to know what the other person is thinking. And they'll have that opportunity on Sunday night. And as I said, the NFL scriptwriters, they knew exactly what they were doing in this game, because let's put Davante Adams in prime time, and let's put him in a primetime game where the Pittsburgh Steelers look like they're going to be starting Russell Wilson. So we'll have Russell Wilson make his Steelers debut and Davante Adams makes his Jets debut. That works in primetime for the scriptwriters.
Listen, I love this for Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, right? Because it's all about 3 things, in my opinion. Trust, number 1, assurance, and consistency. And that's what Davante Adams provides for Aaron Rodgers. You see in the clip, he's like a kid in the candy store. He wants to yell and scream and be excited, but you see him holding it in, that little smirk that he likes to give, Greening. And I see that same smirk on your face because you're excited about Davante Adams too. But it's the ability to be able to have a guy that you know when you put the ball up in the air, when he's running routes one-on-one, that you can trust that he's going to make the play for you at the quarterback position. That's now what Aaron Rodgers has in Davante Adams, his old buddy.
And I love that. And I like to talk about exactly what it's going to look like on the football field when Davante gets in there and he inserts the lineup. Because you talk about Garrett Wilson and Davante now both on the same team. That's going to have a huge impact on how defenses decide to play them. You're going to see right here, Garrett Wilson is down the bottom, and they're going to shade a safety. And both of those guys are guarding Garrett Wilson. That is a double team, taking him off the field. Look at all of this space up top that Aaron Rodgers now has to work with to throw the ball to Davante Adams, whether he's outside in the slot. That is room to operate. Now, as you get closer to the end zone, you're going to see Harrison Smith. He's trying to show that he's doubling or helping this corner down the bottom. Aaron Rodgers looks that way. He doesn't even move because he's not concerned with the matchup of Mike Williams against Stephon Gilmore. That now could be Davante Adams, and you have to be concerned as a safety with him one-on-one.
You're a defensive player. Who are you doubling? Are you doubling Davante Adams or Garrett Wilson?
Green.
You're going to have to double both of those guys.
That's the lovely part.
Yep.
Now Breece Hall steps in, right?
Exactly.
I would also say not just Breece Hall, but a guy in third receiver, Allen Lazard. Now, he's going to be able to get the one-on-ones, too. And it reminded me of the days when I played with Roddy White and Julio Jones. Let's go into this game and let's see how they're on the first series, how they're going to play these 2 guys, and then now we're going to play off of whatever they're presenting from the defense.
You know who leads the league in touchdown and receptions right now?
Who?
Allen Lazard.
And Garrett Wilson leads the league in targets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for all the conversation, like the Jets are 3 plays away, for whatever it's worth. It's been disappointing, and you've heard me yell and scream about it. They're 3 plays away from being right where they wanted to be. If Davante Adams can make those 3 plays, it all feels very different.
None of this matters unless they win Sunday night.
No, of course. Boy, there's been drama in Philadelphia. It all started last season. The team lost 6 of their last 7. The root of their decline was a reported fractured and unhealthy relationship between the quarterback and the head coach over the offense. Then this year, drama bubbles up. Week 2, Eagles lose on Monday night. Sirianni under fire for passing with under 2 minutes left when Atlanta had no timeouts. Sirianni said he was, quote, very convicted in his decision. Then last week, of course, after a victory at home, Sirianni, near the end of the game, walking over to the fans at his sideline. You see him sort of getting into it with the fans who had been booing and jeering at him. And this, of course, has created an enormous amount of conversation. So I said, if we need to find out what's going on in Philadelphia, there's only one place we are going, and that is to the kitchen of Sal Palantonio. So here we go. Sal, good morning. I was reading the notes you sent to our staff. I'm going to let you take it. How would you describe what is at stake in their game against the Giants this week?
Well, it's real simple, Michael. You got to show us that you sound like and look like a real NFL head coach when you go up to MetLife Stadium. After last week's off-the-rails display on the sideline, Nick Sirianni needs to get back in the saddle and show us that he can lead the Philadelphia Eagles to a victory at MetLife Stadium. From the Eagles' perspective, this is the dictionary definition of a must-win game. You're going to MetLife Stadium. You were dump-trucked by the Giants the last time you were there on January 7th. Saquon Barkley is making his return, his debut in an Eagles uniform at MetLife Stadium. And you are in a race in the NFC East. You've got to win your division games on the road. Dictionary definition of a must-win game for the Philadelphia Eagles. They got to show us that they're functioning operationally on offense and defense 2 games in a row, and that they can win them. Last week against the Cleveland Browns, they looked better on defense. 5 sacks. The rush yards after contact was much lower, which means they were tackling better for sure. Offensively, only 20 points against the Browns. I think in this game, they have to show offensively. They had some firepower, some big plays to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, but are they getting off to a good start? Haven't scored in the first quarter all year long.
Sal, before I bring it out to the table here, and I want you to stay for the conversation, you know, a lot of us imagined how this was going to play with the Philly fans who have their own reputation and everything. We all know all of that stuff. So the talk shows, the people walking up to you in the street, that kind of thing. How would you describe Nick Sirianni's standing in Philadelphia right now?
Well, as you know, I've been here for 30 years. This is a crazy cauldron of sports here in Philadelphia. Everywhere I go, everybody wants to know the answer to that question. And I'll say, here, where are we? We're going into week 7. Stay tuned. We really don't know where this thing is going. After the loss in Tampa, and I was there, Jalen Hurts said, in an answer to a question about his relationship to Nick Sirianni, we have our moments. And after he said that, Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts got together and they talked during the bye week. And they had a moment where they had a meeting of the minds. And it's pretty clear when you listen to Jalen Hurts that he wants Nick Sirianni in his corner, and Jalen Hurts wants to be in Nick Sirianni's corner. And I think the two of them have got to an understanding now that they've got to ride or die together with this situation down the stretch. And they have 4 games that they could win. They beat Cleveland. They could beat the Giants. They go to the Bengals. They have Jacksonville coming in. They have one of the weakest schedules. And at the end of the season, they don't go on the road for the final 6 weeks of the year. They don't get on an airplane for the final 6 weeks of the year. So they have an opportunity, I think, to win some games if they can get their act together.
All right, Sal, stay close by here as I bring this out. When he was saying that about the two of them getting together, Harry, I could see out of the corner, you were nodding. Like, why? What made you react there?
Because that's the way it's supposed to be between quarterback and head coach. When you look at a few teams around the league, and I know Tua Tagovailoa is hurt right now, but you see how Mike McDaniel endorses Tua and how those guys' relationship is. You look at Brock Purdy, you look at Kyle Shanahan, you look at C.J. Stroud, and you look at Domonique Ryans. It's supposed to be that way. And in order for a team to be able to be functional, and especially from an offensive standpoint, you have to be able to be on the same page. When there's division, we're going to get what we've seen last year from this football team. And that's not the space you want to be in.
And I think when you talk about that division, you talk about the personalities between these two people. And he said ride or die together. I look at it for Jalen Hurts. When you look at Sirianni yelling into the crowd at the end of a game to his home fans, could you imagine Jalen Hurts doing something of that nature? I mean, an entire stands collapsed on him. He was helping people up. I just look at the difference in their personalities when you talk about trying to connect and be on the same page as a head coach and a quarterback. And Dan, you were in that role. I look at it as extremely hard for Jalen Hurts to be in Nick Sirianni's corner when Sirianni does some of the things he does that completely contradict who Jalen Hurts is and who he has shown us as a quarterback and just a person in the NFL.
That's a great point because the contrast personality-wise is stark. Okay, I don't believe that they're running Kellen Moore's offense in Philadelphia. I don't. There's no way. But more importantly, this is the least prepared football team in the NFL. The least prepared. They've had 5 opening drives this season. They got 22 yards. So you mean to tell me an offense that has Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and one of the best offensive line in football and Saquon Barkley, they got 22 yards? You guys know this, in my opinion at least. In the NFL, how you finish games is really about players. How you start games is really about coaching.
You're scheming it up.
You're scheming it up.
The first 15 plays are scripted on how you're going to be able to have success versus the defense.
They're the only team who hasn't scored the first quarter point.
As
They're
a
down
defender,
23-0.
that's our biggest fear within the game, the first 15, because we know we're going to get schemed up and it's going to be something we haven't seen.
And so you're sitting there as a football team or as an organization and you see all the talent on offense. How can we not build a lead? How do we start every game slow? It's not because of lack of talent. I'm aware that they've played games, without their receivers at some point. The offensive line has been there. Saquon's been there. The quarterback's there. That you watched the team and you said, that looks like a good football team. Not that they squeak by the Saints because they blow a coverage late in the game.
Early 23. Early.
Didn't they win on the road against the Chiefs last year late?
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, in October, November.
Yeah.
Who on their football team has gotten better since last year? What unit has gotten better since last year?
He was a free agent acquisition.
Yeah, Saquon has made them better. Get Schefter in here. Get Schefter.
You said something about that sideline incident and Jalen Hurts and how it would affect his relationship with Nick Sirianni. I'm curious to know, do you think that sideline tirade with the fans will impact the way that Jalen Hurts and the team view him moving forward?
I do, because I think this is the same things. The clip we've seen, all of us, during the Super Bowl where Jalen Hurts and Sirianni are talking, and he's going off, and Hurts is like putting his hand down. I feel like it's the continuation of the same thing. And I think for Sirianni, you're at the point where your back's against the wall, and it's just like, you know what, this is who I am. And if I am going to go out, I'm going to go out swinging with what I know. But for players, I think it becomes exhausting. When you're winning games, and he's mean-mugging the camera and everything, it's like, hell, let's have fun. We out there winning. When you're losing games and you see it's continuing to happen and stuff's not going the right way, you're like,
you got to be a head coach, not a fan.
Or can I say this? You need to be a head coach and not a child. You don't need to act like a child when you're supposed to be in a position of leadership.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing here, too.
I can't imagine Dan Campbell doing that or Kevin O'Connell doing that or Kyle Shanahan doing that. I just can't. I can see them being emotional and with their guys, but I just can't imagine in those moments, and we've seen multiple now, where the head coach acts that way when you're not playing good football.
Sal, can you, Sal's still there, right? Sal, I mean, how did this play to the best of your knowledge? Because no one knows the people inside there. How did is all that playing inside the building, be it in the locker room, be it all the way upstairs, the whole Sirianni thing right now? How is that playing in the building?
Well, the evidence is overwhelming that nobody liked it because Nick Sirianni apologized the next day, Greeny. But if you look at what exactly happened and you hear from the fans, and the fans have put out a statement, a couple of them had, it was fairly benign considering what does go on in Philadelphia. I mean, there was reports that fans were voicing their displeasure at Nick Sirianni. What a euphemism that is. All those 3 gentlemen on your desk have played in Philadelphia. Lincoln Financial Field is a thunderdome of vile, crazy hate. So what Nick Sirianni was doing is saying back to the fans, you know what? I heard you and I ran the football. That's all he was doing. It looks very bad, and he should not be engaging the fans after the game. He had just won the game. He clearly understands that. He needs to have his energy focused on his football team after winning a game and getting them better prepared. I agree with Dan. This is not Kellen Moore's offense. You don't see the formation variation to create favorable matchups. You're not seeing the pre-snap motion that Kellen Moore was supposed to bring to this football team. I don't think that they are running his offense. I think there's too much interference from wherever. But I think in this particular game against the Giants, who are playing well on defense, they better be ready because the Giants are getting after the passer with Shane Bowen in that defense. This is a critical game for the Eagles on offense in the first quarter.
Amen. Great Sal Palantonio, and I love that kitchen. Am I the only one sitting here thinking, I love where Sal is sitting right now, right? It makes me feel good.
Are those fresh flowers for the white people?
I wish Sal would bring us coffee. Like he's got the coffee maker right